Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard to the Dropkicks and Attractions podcast. I'm, of course, your Prince of Pop Culture, the host with the most, and yeah, I'm pretty much the prettiest one out of the three. I was trying to think if he was prettier than me, but he's not, but he's still a cutie. My close personal friend, Big Bach, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Xander?
Oh, I'm doing just peachy, because there was actually some decent stuff going on this week, wrestling-wise.
Yeah, I was impressed with this week.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for all the continued viewing. We're actually getting some... Actually, numbers are actually doing pretty well. We're actually above what we were doing before, so thank you, everybody, for watching or listening everywhere.
We are very grateful.
Yes, and we are just going to jump right into the concession stands part of it. Myself, I honestly haven't had time to watch a lot of movies or television lately. I've been watching a lot of YouTube. Both you and I have known this very well. We're both big gamers, especially the old school stuff.
Yep.
We're both familiar with a website called Dorkly.
Indeed.
And what I think they're known mainly for, they have these cute, I would say sub 1 minute, sometimes sub 30-second skits. They use pixels, and they all look really well done using assets from different old school video games.
Yeah.
They're funny. Some of them are kind of grown-up humor, but it's funny, and it's one of those, if you know the games, you're going to get the humor. It's great. I saw a video that they officially posted on their official YouTube page. It was the first 100 of them. And this thing went on for almost 2 hours, and it was awesome.
That's a lot of them.
Yeah, and it was just the first 100, and I don't know how, I'm sure they're still doing them. I haven't, sought them out recently.
I got you.
But no, it was great to watch. I watched the new Eric the Electric, where this is the one that did all the mukbangs recently. He did one now where his big challenge was he ate the entire menu off 7 fast food restaurants in 3 days.
Holy crap.
He did Taco Bell, he did Chick-fil-A, he did Krispy Kreme. Offhand, I don't remember the rest, but it took him 3 days, and he ate the entire menu off everything.
Wow.
Yeah, it was impressive. So what about you?
I'm still on Tony Kawa. That's been a lot of fun. Finished rewatching My Dress Up Darling. And I've also been watching I'm going back to pop music criticism with a few channels. Tom the Shadows is the obvious one.
Yeah, you're a big fan of him.
Mm-hmm. And then what I've told you about, Sean Fay Wolf of Diamond Axe Studios Music. He does seasonal top 20s. He does year-end retrospectives, retro year-end retrospectives, stuff like that. Yeah, him and Ethan of the Double Agent actually have their fan ranking for the top 20 coming out today. They were recording.
Yeah, I just watched the most recent one a few days ago. So you got me watching him. Yeah, anything else you're watching?
Still watching Technology Connections. He's I love the way he presents his stuff. Actually, you remember how I nerded out over the Sunbeam radiant control toaster a couple years ago?
Oh, I remember we went we went flea market searching for that thing.
Yeah, his channel was the one I learned about it from.
Oh, okay. Have you found one yet?
I'm hoping the guy at the flea market still has it, but other than that, I just haven't had money to buy it from him. If he does,
I was gonna say it's been a couple years, so the Magic 8 Ball said chances are not likely.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, so we are gonna get into probably one of the last times we do this part of the concession stand segment, where we get each other to watch stuff, because we have another plan in the works that involves a lot of spinning wheels.
Oh yes, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, basically. We're going to go over that here in a second. I got through the first 2 episodes of, okay, how do you pronounce this?
Hyoka.
And for me, it is very slow.
Yeah, like I said, it is a very slow burn, but personally, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and this is the thing where it's we like stuff. Obviously, if both of us liked everything the same, it wouldn't be fun.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm probably going to at least finish up watching it, but it's not really something I'm probably going to seek out. You say you watch this, once or twice a year?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, I'll probably at least finish it if I can, but it's probably not something I would seek out again.
I gotcha.
And it's not I don't like slow burns at all. I do. I do my action on the horse stuff. It doesn't have to be balls to the wall right off the bat. Matter of fact, a good example where it was 2 balls to the wall too fast where it didn't give you time to breathe was the first Suicide Squad movie. That was the one with Will Smith in it.
Haven't seen it.
I saw it, and it was just boom, 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 boom for like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Gotcha.
Like, there was no breathing at all. So you can go too fast, too much, and you can also slow burn too much. I think this is where that falls under the slow burn.
Okay.
But it's, you never know until you watch it, and now that we have Crunchyroll, we're going to go, I'll look to see what else is on there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we got you to watch Waiting for the first time. And I always said to someone, especially now currently working in the service industry, this movie is a documentary.
I don't remember ever doing things like what this movie displays when I worked at Burger King in 07.
Yeah, but the customers and then the people you worked with and you everybody that's worked in any kind of service or restaurant industry for more than a week can attest that this movie's pretty fucking true.
Agreed. Like, the interpersonal dynamics.
Yeah, I think the movie's hilarious.
There were a good number of funny scenes, but on the whole, it was too raunchy for me.
Yeah, you're not a big fan of the super raunchy stuff, especially like I mentioned, you even saw some lady no bits.
Yes, you did.
And I'm sure that flummoxed you a little bit.
It did.
Yeah. I just won't have you watch the sequel. It's fucking awful.
Okay.
And it's not so bad it's good. It's like, I watched it once on Tubi. Knowing that it's free on Tubi, I felt like I needed a refund.
Yikes.
It was that bad. So what we're going to do, and I'll have this up by the next episode, we'll start at the next episode. We are going to set up some wheels. Do some spinning. We're going to spin some streaming services, some genres, and some letters. And we will decide then via that way what movies you and I are going to watch. Sometimes it's going to be something that we like that we've seen before. Sometimes it's going to be something that we don't like that we've seen before. Maybe we can get a new perspective. And maybe it's, hopefully, even though as many movies I've watched, there's probably tens, if not hundreds of thousands I've never seen before.
Of course.
That we can try for the first time. And I think that'll be more fun because it's like, it's not going to be your fault if I don't like something or my fault if you don't like something.
Right.
It's going to be your fault that you don't like something because it's fate. It's fate spun the wheel.
Yes.
So, look out for that. We're going to start that next week. So, let's go ahead and get into the wrestling. This is the week of April 19th, 1993. And can we get a moment of silence real quick? Okay, it's over. This is Rob Bartlett's last episode on Monday Night Raw.
Indeed. And he was bad today.
No, honestly, you know what? This is where you and I can disagree. Even though I liked him better last week, I thought this was still pretty tame considering.
Tame, yes, but he fell off a cliff from last week.
Yeah, but I mean, like, compared to where he was at the other months, like, this was still bearable.
I would say last week was an 8, this week is a 5.
All right, fair. It's better than the 1s and 2s he was doing the whole time.
Agreed.
But yeah, like I said, this is the last week Rob Bartlett. Basically, he gets Thanos snapped. Nobody's ever seen him or heard from him again in regards to WWF. As far as I know, he's still doing radio, and I think he was doing some teaching in regards to like broadcast journalism and stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah, like he was known in New York as a doing radio shows and stuff. So he has experience in radio and broadcasting and stuff. So as far as I know, he's still doing that. Let me see if, of course, I'm using the good old wiki here.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually done some Broadway, actually.
Really?
He's done some film shows. He's done some animation. He was on this last season of Elementary, that CBS Sherlock Holmes show.
Neat.
And he does a lot of fundraising and advocating for like Crohn's disease.
Good for him.
Yeah, so he's still keeping busy.
Yeah, I looked up on Wikipedia real quick. He's a trustee for the Long Island Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. Good for him.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking at right now. So yeah, he's still keeping pretty busy. So we actually open up, this was kind of a cool thing, open up with pre-recorded comments from Money Inc. and the Beverly Brothers about their match tonight, and they go right to the intro and straight to the first match.
Yeah, they're somewhere new, and they never said where.
No, it's Poughkeepsie. It's the same episode, the same as last week.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah. I kind of like this because it kind of reminded me how, like, you would see this on Raw every so often, and especially Saturday night's main event would do this, to where, like, so-and-so's calling out their opponent, and they're calling out each other, like, pre-recorded segments like this before the show, so nice little throwback.
Gotcha.
All right, our first match, our first match of the night is Razor Ramon, always been a fan of him ever since I was a kid. It never wavered, versus Virgil, and I always noticed first thing off the bat. Razor Ramon's got a classic badass wrestling theme song.
It is a pretty nice song.
Yeah, like, when it's one of those songs where you hear it, you're like, somebody's about to get beat. And that, unfortunately, tonight is Virgil. And, yeah, Virgil, he had hands, he had the speed, but you can only tell he was somebody like Razor a couple times, because once they get a hold of you, that's it.
Yeah, there was some pretty decent chaining right at the start, and that ended in a rope break. That's going to be a story of this match.
Yeah, and then Virgil actually still damn near won early with a small package. And then, speaking of rope breaks, I noticed this, where he tried to do a schoolboy, but he was so close to the ropes that Razor's back bounced off him. He didn't even get him down, and I'm like, that is horrendous ring awareness, not knowing. If you're going to do a schoolboy, you need to know where the hell you're at.
Gotcha.
Because that was just awful. So he was still in control for a little bit, but he missed a drop kick, and this is where Razor took over, locked in that trademark abdominal stretch. If everybody's got a handful of signature moves that everybody's known for, Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, gorgeous abdominal stretch.
Yeah, that was a really good sequence.
Yeah. He got a modified camel clutch, almost kind of like he tied the legs together. Damn near won.
So they trade shots for a bit after that, and then Razor comes in for what I'm going to call a running nothing, so Virgil can elevate with the ropes and kick him in the face.
Yeah. But we get a small comeback, but he misses the crossbody. Razor's Edge, match is over.
7 minutes on the dot. That was a good opening contest.
I like this, and why I like this more, and then I'm going to go ahead and say this now, this is my favorite match of the night. Especially when they keep calling it how he's a bully, Razor's a bully, Razor's doing this, Razor's doing that. In hindsight, knowing what's coming up here in a few weeks, I really dug this because they're sowing the seeds. Like I said, hindsight's always 20/20. And so they're sowing the seeds of something that's going to happen, a huge Raw moment that's coming up in a few weeks.
I'll look forward to it.
And then I really got the nice continuation that Vince is like, hey, Rob, you ready for your interview with Bret Hart later on tonight? He's like, no.
Yeah, he wants nothing to do with this.
Yeah, and I like that, because it's like, we have continuation, we have a storyline with Rob where he's like, yeah, I'm not interviewing after what happened last week.
Right, it actually makes sense, it's flowing.
Yeah, and I thought it was funny, because this Rob Bartlett was funny, like the last 2 weeks. So we get into our next match, Giant Gonzalez versus L.A. Gore, who, like we talk about every time he's on here, is one of my favorites, just because of the name. And that gorgeous, like, two-colored mullet in the gear. Like, I fucking love this guy.
Unique look, I'll say that.
Yeah. Unique look for what little we saw him, because he gets to the outside. Giant Gonzalez palms his head like a basketball to pull him in. Clothesline, sidekick, and big boot, maybe a sidekick, some kind of kick. And a chop, choke slam, match is over.
Yeah, 1 minute and 56 seconds of just nothing.
Yeah, well, this, when you got a guy like this, who's built at 8 foot tall, and, did what he did to The Undertaker at WrestleMania, a guy like L.A. Gore is not getting anything from him.
Right.
You're not going to have a 6-minute match with him. If you're trying to build this guy as an unstoppable guy, like I said, they've had matches before where he was going up against 3 people and beating them in about as long time.
Right.
So we go backstage with Luna, with that crazy-ass gravelly voice, her voice talking about her encounter with Sherry. And I'm like, that voice has got to be hell on her throat.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I also noticed that, neat! WrestleMania 9's going to be out on VHS on Tuesday, guys.
Yay.
Exactly. So, but yeah, they're still continuing the storyline between Luna and Sherry, and they actually showed the backstage stuff that they had mentioned during WrestleMania. They actually showed the backstage footage of her beating up Sherry at the first aid station at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was a nice continuation, and I'm happy with this.
It was good footage.
Then we get into our next match. We had 5 matches this hour. Tatanka versus Art Thomas. And I was kind of surprised that not only did Art Thomas jumping from behind, Art Thomas was kind of in control for the majority of this.
Yeah, he went right after Tatanka, and it was just... He didn't give Tatanka space.
No, and I like this. Like, Like, we know who's going to win. You already know going in who's going to win. But it's nice, they give us a little, mix it up so it's not the exact same match every single time.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, it goes back and forth. Tatanka does his whole hulking up, for lack of a better term, where he starts doing the Indian dances and the chops. And we get the end of the trail for the predictable win.
2 minutes, 30 seconds. Art made a good showing here.
Yeah, and it was honestly, I'm going to use your word here, it was actually pretty dense for 2 minutes.
Agreed.
I like this good. And then we get in a match that on paper, I liked, but seeing it, I was honestly slightly disappointed. Was our quote-unquote main event. Money Inc. versus the Beverly Brothers. This is a non-title match with Money Inc. still being our tag champs. It's a very rare heel versus heel match.
Right, you don't see a lot of those because it just doesn't really make sense. Why have two bad guys fight each other?
Yeah, and commentary talks about this, and there's different things happening, and this is one of the reasons I didn't get into this match as much. Is you didn't know who you cheered for. Really, granted, you're not going to cheer for either one of them. But you still, in a match, you still have to have a de facto face in the match.
Right, I gotcha.
And there's moments where the commentary team are talking about how the Beverly Brothers, they're kind of give them the face rub, so we have somebody, so we have an idea. But then they're still cheating, and then there was moments where IRS was the face in peril.
Yeah.
It was so moneyed you didn't know who to... Well, like I said, granted, you're not going to cheer for either one of them, but...
You couldn't tell who was on which side of the dynamic.
Exactly. Even though they're both on the same side, you still need to have two sides, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But, like, there was nice early exchanges. They had the brawl at the beginning. And it was just, like, Bartlett in this match was, like, really good. This might have been one of his better showings, but once again, now that we know... After the fact, it's too little, too late.
Yeah, he made a Beverly Hillbillies joke that I wasn't really a fan of.
Yeah, but it's better than, pretending he's Mike Tyson and dressing up like Elvis and...
Agreed.
All the other stuff he was doing. Like you're not even with the commentators we like, not every joke's going to land.
Right, nobody bats 1,000.
Exactly. Now, this is an extremely even match that breaks down in a brawl. DiBiase gets a roll-up for the win.
Yeah, that was 11 minutes. The match was okay, but there was something earlier on that confused me, right as they came back from the commercial.
Okay.
So, the ref was yelling at Blake on the apron for no reason so that Ted could come in and help IRS Small Bow, and the ref just kind of allows it. He motions like he saw Ted tag in, but based on his positioning, that was impossible.
Yeah, but like I said, this is why this didn't work. It's like, I get that, given some of the mannerisms in the commentary, we were supposed to root for the Beverly Brothers.
See, I was wondering if maybe in kayfabe, the ref had been bribed.
Who knows? Like, there was no mention of that, so... And then to me, like, match quality-wise, like, it was, like, solid, but nothing really happened. Like, they really didn't get out of first gear. Like, there was no real spots that was like, oh, this was cool, or this was great, or this was a cool sequence. It was a lot of just basic, even, like, basics, like some chains and stuff, and it just... disappointing considering who was in the match.
Right. Like I said, that was 11 minutes, and Bartlett did get me with one joke here.
Okay.
The doctor says I might have a little bit of memory loss. Then he says it again.
Yeah. Yeah, I caught that.
Yeah, and then he said it a third time after the match ended, and that ruined it.
Yeah, well, it's the rule of three. You never, it's always like the rule of three. You never do it more than 3 times.
Gotcha.
But it was just, this match didn't work for me. Like, I was like, oh, this match is over already.
Yeah, it was average.
But, yeah, it was average, but at the same time, given who was in there...
It should have been better.
Yeah, an average match like this is not good. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
But like I said, this is all subjective, but it just didn't work for me concerning who was in it. So, anyways, we back from commercial, and Vince is in the ring doing an interview with Bret Hart. This is his first appearance since, speaking of fiascos, the WrestleMania 9 fiasco.
Mm-hmm.
And Vince is talking about, oh yeah, you were the underdog, even the champ, and Bret's like, I thrive on being an underdog. I knew I was going to be the underdog going in. That's where I excel, is being the underdog.
Yeah, he calls out Lex Luger for attacking him at the WrestleMania 9 brunch.
Yeah, and they actually they mentioned it at during their respective matches at WrestleMania. They actually showed the footage of the attack. He hit him with the forearm, and he said the first thing, he's going to go back in the title hunt, but Lex Luger's his first priority. We'll see how that goes come July A lot of things change come July. We'll get there. People that know what's going on around this time frame know what I'm talking about. But Brett says he ends and he's gonna say that the title's coming back to him.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. It was a good Bret Hart promo.
Yeah, solid.
Yeah, bringing Bret Hart out. Like I said, you only have an hour, so you can't have everybody every week. So it's always nice to see Bret Hart on TV, especially during this time frame.
Gotcha.
And then we get into our unofficial main event, because this is the last main event of the night. Bam Bam Bigelow, like I said, I'm a big fan of him, versus Phil Apollo.
I wasn't expecting much from this.
No, but I liked what I saw, especially towards the beginning where Bam Bam shot Phil Apollo off the ropes. I kind of like how he did it. It was something different. Where Phil had him almost like in a headlock. He picked him up almost like he would do some sort of slam or back suplex, and he just kind of pressed him against the ropes and almost launched him. It's like, that's cool. That's different.
Agreed. That was cool.
Yeah, and we talked about, they talked about the agility of Bam Bam and how he's doing the cartwheels and the moonsaults and how quick he could move. And I looked it up. This man was 6'4", 390 pounds moving like that.
Wow.
Yeah. And the other thing I found weird is last week we talked about Tatanka's match where Doink came out. I'm like, oh, maybe we're setting up a Doink Tatanka program.
Right, but he came out again here, so now what?
Yeah, and Bam Bam's a bad guy. Doink's a bad guy right now. Both of them are bad guys right now. Doink came out, didn't interfere in the match, didn't say anything, squirted people with the umbrella, and walked back. Okay. That happened.
Yeah, at this point in the match, Phil is able to hit more than one move in a row. He actually hits two.
Yeah, and one thing I liked about this is Bigelow had this cool kind of reverse headlock variation where it kind of reminded me like Randy Orton does, where he does that backbreaker where he kind of bends the person backwards over his back and then drops.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like he was trying to do that, but he kept the headlock and it looked really cool.
Yeah, it did.
And then we get into just a naughty looking senton where he landed full force on that poor man.
Yep. Right after the senton, there's a top rope headbutt, and that's the match.
Yep. Bam Bam wins at...
That's about 6 minutes. This sucked.
Yes, and then after this, Bam Bam hit a second headbutt, and out of all the people on the roster, to make a save for Phil Apollo, we get Friar Ferguson.
So it looks like he gave Phil his last rites?
Yeah, but out of all the people, are we pushing towards Bam Bam Bigelow versus fucking Friar Ferguson?
Why?
Fuck if I know. I was like, I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah, and that's the end of the show.
Yeah, and they promote next week. We're going to get Crush versus Lex Luger, which that could honestly be pretty good.
I see the potential.
Mm-hmm. So, yep, Raw's over with. And honestly, like I said, still, my match of the night was actually Razor Ramon versus Virgil.
Honestly, I think mine is gonna be... It's gonna be the same.
Yeah, it was... And like I said, knowing what's coming up here within the next few weeks, I see the seeds being sowed right now. And this is really cool. Alright, we're going to get into our next show. WCW Saturday Night from April 24th. I know numbers, 1993. And they're they open up reviewing the last week's main event, knowing that we're going to get a lot of the same this week.
Yeah, Cactus Jack and Big Van Vader. It's going to be great.
Oh, yeah. And then, so we get the first match of the night, Too Cold Scorpio, Marcus Bagwell versus Tony Vincent or Paul Lee. And this was nice because Scorpio and Bagwell came through the crowd and brought brought 3 kids to dance with them.
Yeah, that was a cool spot.
Yeah, and bless their heart, 2 of the kids could dance. I'm not knocking on kids, but bless the heart on the third child. She tried.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we knew this was going to expect. Actually, there was a cool shoulder block I did like. We knew we were going to expect this was only going to be a couple minutes. There was one moment I noticed was Paul Lee was in there and he ducked and he's like, tapping the forehead. It's like, I'm smart. And Bagwell shoulder blocked him from behind like he's in a mosh pit.
Yeah, that looked pretty gruesome.
Well, yeah, and I thought just the funny part of it, and then he comes in, looked like they're going to do it again, and Paul Lee turns out, like, I'm smart, and then just eats a clothesline.
Yikes.
So, yeah, like I said, there was a quick double team at the end. Bagwell hits his fisherman suplex for the win.
Yeah, 4 minutes and 3 seconds. This was a good average.
It was filler. And then we get the Cold Twins coming out for a white boy dance party. And then while they're dancing, Tex Slazenger, Shanghai Pierce, and the Wrecking Crew come out and they have this huge brawl.
This is possibly setting up to an 8-man tag match.
I would be okay with this.
I would too.
So we go to commercial, we come back from said commercial where Jesse and Tony are talking about the Cactus Jack Vader rematch, and then Jack comes out to the rematch. And then even with all the injuries he had, supposedly he had a concussion, stitches, his face is all bandaged up. He's talking about, even with the injuries, win, lose, or draw, this is it. So if Vader can take him out, he better do it now because this is it regardless.
Yeah, he talked about his family a bit too. Some good stuff.
Yeah, there's once again, like when it comes to any kind of the faces of Foley, you're going to get a good interview. Then Jesse actually goes back. He's at the normal interview area and says the next match is supposed to be Ricky Steamboat and Shane Douglas versus the Wrecking Crew, but Shane Douglas had travel issues, so he's not here. So we're going to go down to the ring with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat with the Wrecking Crew, and the ref does a coin flip about which one's going to wrestle Ricky.
And we get Fury.
Yeah. I was just snickering about how Cactus Jack, they're still talking about Cactus Jack, and I just like some of Jesse's remarks, and I'm like, I really like Jesse as a color commentator, just like overall.
I agree. I like his style.
Yeah. Plus, on top of that, Ricky Steamboat is in my Mount Rushmore, my top 4 of all time. So anytime I get and you can see why when we've had a lot of tag matches with him lately, but just to see him doing singles matches, especially with the guy that may have less experience and is bigger, but you could see that Ricky knew what he was doing in the ring.
Yeah, there was a long chain sequence to start off, and it was good.
Yeah. So he was in control for the first good part of this, and he's going over the top rope, maybe going for his crossbody finisher, but the ref got distracted and Rage tossed him off the top.
Yeah, Fury hits a couple slams right after that.
Yep, locks him in a bear hug, and then Steamboat's actually able to make a comeback. He skins the cat.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yep, he was doing that before Shawn Michaels. And then we get in, Steamboat gets a quick roll-up for the win.
6 minutes, 30 seconds. This was pretty good.
Yeah, this was actually one of the better ones of the evening. And we go to our next match right off the bat, and I'm excited because as soon as you hear the music, I love the theme song, everything worked for me. The man, the myth, the legend, Ravishing Rick Rude against Ben Jordan. And I just love Rick Rude's crowd work.
Yeah, he's really good at playing it up.
Yeah, and he got the announcer to say, Ravishing Rick Rude is beneath all of you people, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, that's great. He's like, he can get people to hate him by getting other people to talk for him, and it was awesome.
Right.
And then props to Ben Jordan, who tried to tag him from behind, but that lasted about 4 seconds. So I was just thinking, hey, how'd that work out for you?
Not well.
No. Rick Rude got a hanging suplex where he just dropped him. He didn't fall back with the suplex. He's like, nope.
Yeah, that looked pretty painful.
Yeah. So we get the top rope knee that Rude was wanting to do. Rude Awakening for the win.
Yeah, I never heard a first bell. The second one rang at 20:42 in the broadcast. It probably took about 90 seconds.
Yeah, I liked it. Once again, anytime I see Rick Rude on my TV, I'm happy.
And I can see why.
Yeah. And then we get a ringside segment with Rick Rude and Tony Schiavone, because we noticed that before the match, Rick Rude's looking through the crowd like he's looking for somebody. And as he's coming over to Tony, he's looking again, and Tony's like, so what are you looking for? And Rude's like, yeah, that's none of your business. But the main thing they want to talk about with Rick Rude is that they have this computer techno blabble about that the computer says that Japanese wrestler Kensuke Sasaki is getting the next U.S. title shot ahead of him, and Rude goes off about how he should get it and Rhodes should watch out. He was never defeated for the title, he got stripped. So, of course, we're building towards Rude and Rhodes, and I'm happy for that because that's going to be good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that once it comes to fruition.
Yeah. And we get to the first Slamboree Control Center with Eric Bischoff. And they say there's going to be a fan fest, Slam Fest. There's going to be a dinner that night of Slam Feast. We're doing the whole slam. I bet that food's going to be slamming.
But people are going to slam it into their faces.
Exactly. And they actually announced the first 2 matches of the show. We're going to get the WCW World Title match where Big Van Vader is going to defend up against British Bulldog. We're finally going to get that match.
And we're also going to have Barry Windham defending the NWA Championship against Arn Anderson.
Yep, and we actually introduced legendary announcer Gordon Soley, who announces more legends coming. We have Lord James Blears. Yeah, Blears, excuse me. Blears from Hawaii. This was one I was not familiar with. I guess he spent the majority of his career in Hawaii, especially the Waikiki area.
Mm-hmm.
We got Dustin. Of course, we got Dusty Rhodes. We're going to get Dusty Rhodes. We're going to get the Assassin, who we're going to see later. And we have Blackjack Mulligan, who is actually the father of Barry Windham.
Yeah, I saw him talking about that in an old Mulligan promo that they showed right before this segment ended.
Yeah, oh, that was a good promo. Oh, I love that promo.
Agreed, it was excellent.
Oh, that's my kind of promo. Oh, I just loved it. I just liked it. Nothing fancy, nothing just stripped down. He's like, look, I'm coming out here, I'm going to whoop your ass. Oh, by the way, if nobody's ever seen the Blackjacks work, whether him singles or him in Blackjack Lanza is the Blackjacks, and you like my kind of wrestling where it's just the rough and tumble, we're just going to come in and fight and punch you, look up the Blackjack. Blackjack quality stuff.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, and so we get our next match, and this kind of just shows you just how good Bobby Eaton was. We get Bobby Eaton versus Eric Watts, and both men are already in the ring.
Yeah, I literally wrote in my notes, do we really have to do this?
Yeah, and I see where they're going. Once we get to the end, I see where they're going with this. Because we mentioned that Eric Watts and Arn Anderson had their blow-off, the match for their blow-off for their feud at Main Event a week or so before, and Bobby Eaton got Arn disqualified, cost a DQ. So we're going to see where that comes into play here in a second. I like how Jesse, or Tony mentioned, oh yeah, Eric Watts is the master of the STF, and Jesse's like, yeah, really?
That was a baffling commentary spot.
I get it, Jesse, or Tony's the good guy. You know, the play-by-play, traditionally, the play-by-play announcer is going to be the quote-unquote face, and then the color commentator is usually going to be the heel, so I get where that's coming from.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I realize that's how it's supposed to work. It just, sometimes it strains credibility for me.
Yeah. But this obviously wasn't a bad start, and you can see throughout the thing that even though Eric still looks lost, it just showed you that this match honestly wasn't that bad. That just shows you just how good Bobby Eaton really was.
Right, he was carrying Watts through the match.
And he made him look good. Bobby, that's when I've told you before, and I've said before in the show, when people just realize, once you realize just how good Bobby Eaton was, you can see why he's considered one of the most underrated guys ever.
Gotcha.
And this match proves just how good Bobby Eaton was. Because he carried Watts to probably one of his better matches that I've seen personally.
Agreed.
So, like, this was just a basic no-nothing match going back and forth. Watts locked in the STF, actually. But the baggy shirt community creations variant of Chris Benoit enters and diving headbutts Watts for the DQ.
That took 5 minutes and 55 seconds.
Surprisingly good.
Yeah, agreed. Surprisingly good, yes, but it really helped drive home just how unimpressive Eric Watts is as a wrestler.
Yeah. And they both jump him. And surprisingly, out of all the people to come out and make the save, Arn Anderson makes the save.
Yeah, I did not expect that.
Yeah, no, that was a great swerve, especially the feud. We talked about it, the very beginning of the podcast ever. One of the first, matter of fact, the first episode. And then the fact that Arn came out, and then, so Tony goes to ringside, has an interview with Arn. He's like, Eaton, he's coming for Eaton. They have history as teammates before in the Dangerous Alliance. He's got a fight coming, don't you want to fight? I'm here. And he's like, he's surprised that Eric had guts, and he's not trying to atone for the sins of the father anymore, so, he no longer has beef with Eric Watts.
Yeah, they've put it behind them.
Yeah, so, once again, it's Arn on the microphone. It's never a bad time.
Right.
We go into our next match. It's for the television title. It's Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff defending against the former World Heavyweight Champion Ron Simmons. And this is weird. The stipulations are weird to where the TV title is only on the line for the first 10 minutes of the match. If the match goes on longer than 10 minutes, the title is no longer in play.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that before.
It's weird. And I can see why he didn't last very long.
So yeah, there's a lot of time being wasted as the match starts. It makes no sense.
But I get it. If you're Paul, if this is the stipulation, one, if you're the bad guy and you're the champion like Paul Orndorff is, you're going to waste time because yeah, I can still lose, but as long as I can last at least 10 minutes, I'm not worried about losing my title.
Right.
So, and I like how Jesse's like, yeah, he's going to come in and the salt going through the time thing. And I'm like, Jesse, it's called an hourglass, my dude.
Right.
But it's kind of nice that, you got to see two football greats going at it because, like I said, we've talked about how Ron Simmons was an All-American from Florida State. He's actually in their Hall of Fame.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's actually the first person And actually, Deion Sanders, who just recently became head coach at Colorado, is the second.
Cool.
One of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in the NFL. But see, I knew that Paul Orndorff played football for the University of Tampa. Never knew he was in their Hall of Fame.
I didn't know that either.
No, so you got two big, brolic, muscular guys who played football, and that's just my kind of match. You know that's just going to be smash mouth. And you can tell just by his positioning, his footwork, and his moves, you can tell Ron Simmons played football.
Yeah, now you've mentioned it, now I know that. I can just see where they transition.
Yeah, like, I'm a master. Anybody knows me knows one of the only sports I really seriously follow is football. I love football. You can tell just watching Ron Simmons' footwork and the way he moves around, he's using his football skills.
Yeah, you can really, the way he moves, like you said, you can tell he's transferring skills.
Yeah. Like, you don't have to, because obviously Paul Orndorff really didn't do a lot of the same stuff Ron did, but you could tell Ron's using his football skills.
Right.
And like I said, this was great, and there was a moment where Ron Simmons just caught... Paul Orndorff's not a small man. Simmons caught him like he was nothing.
Yeah, delivered a backbreaker off of that, and that was a good backbreaker.
I just like, oh my god. Ron Simmons like, nope. Like, he didn't stagger back, he didn't waver, he's just like, got you. No, like, I was saying, he went off for a top rope shoulder block, but Paul just sidestepped him. And I was like, this is really smart. Paul Orndorff's going to slow down the pace, closing in on the latter half of the 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And so we get Paul Orndorff, he's going for the pile driver, he's going to finish it, but he blocked it. Ron Simmons did the back body drop, he goes for the power slam. His finisher, the move that won him the world title from Big Van Vader, but Paul Orndorff rolled out of the ring, and he got a couple more moves in, but it was 10 minutes was up, so this is no longer a title match, which is a weird fucking caveat. Like, you guys can still wrestle, not for the title anymore.
Yeah, that agreed. That it's weird.
It's weird. And then, which makes it even weirder, because not longer after that, Paul Orndorff patters out of the ring. Here comes Dustin Rhodes to roll him in, catches a roll-up by Ron Simmons, and he wins anyways.
Yeah, that was 10 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, a whole 30 seconds kept him from winning the title. It's like I said, this felt weird. No, the match was great. The caveat made it weird. Like, it's not going to document any points from me.
Yeah.
It was just weird, and I can see where this just didn't happen for very long. Because that makes no sense to me.
Yeah, so this was a common thing with the TV title at this time?
A little bit. Like, I didn't get to watch a lot right around this time. My parents didn't let me watch it for a while, so around this time, I started to kind of get out of it, and I didn't get to watch every week. I'll have to look that up for you, but it's just one of the weirder caveats for title matches.
Agreed. Very weird.
Yeah. So we get into our next match. Good old Flash Scott Norton versus Johnny Gunn. And actually, I don't know if you caught this, but I heard Norton actually call out Sting during his entrance.
I did not catch that.
I heard him say Sting. And Scott Norton was just pure solid rock. He was not fat.
No, all muscle.
Yeah, and what this reminds me of, this is a weird comparison, is that he reminded me of Kingpin from the comic books. Because when you see Kingpin, like you've seen him in TVs, movies, comic books, you know how big Kingpin is.
Yes.
You think he's fat.
Yeah, he calls that out in the Spider-Man animated series. 2% body fat.
He's solid muscle, and this is what Scott Norton reminds me of. Like, if Scott Norton could cosplay, he'd be Kingpin. Because he's just solid.
I can see it.
Yeah. But yeah, this was just, Scott Norton just stood there and just power shot, power move, and then hit a power slam for the quick win.
Yeah, 1:22. Jesse talked about how Flash was agile for his size, and I agree with that.
Yeah, like, you have to have some sort of agility to be able to move like that and weigh north of 300 pounds.
Right.
And then speaking of the Assassin from earlier, we get pre-recorded comments about talking from the Assassin about Slamboree, who cut a promo on Dusty, and I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it too.
Yeah, I have never really watched a lot of the Assassin, so I don't know too much about his work. I do know, fun fact, because of course, this is from the files of course you know this. The Assassin is known as Jody Hamilton, and he actually ran the WCW power plant back in the day.
Huh.
So this was basically one of Goldberg's trainers.
Oh, cool.
And his son actually got into the wrestling business, not as a wrestler. His son is actually refereeing Nick Patrick.
Really?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. The Assassin was well regarded as a bad guy back in the day. So, like I said, he's just going over a lot of the same legends we're going to see at Slamboree, which is coming up here in a few weeks. Coming up in May, which, of course, we will do here on the DNA podcast with its own episode, so that's going to be fun.
Looking forward to it.
Yep. And we get to our next to last match of the night. It's the Hollywood Blondes versus Joey Maggs and Larry Santo. And I noticed that the Hollywood Blondes had something I always wanted as a kid and I never got.
The movie board?
No, light-up shoes.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted light-up shoes like nobody's business when I was a kid. I was like 9, 10 years old when this was going on, and I wanted those things something fierce. I always wanted a pair of light-up shoes.
I never cared about them.
I got a pair of LA Gears as a kid. That was cool. I got LA Gears because, and if they were good enough for Joe Montana, by God, they were good enough for me.
Right.
And I like how Jesse Ventura, he keeps talking about Demolition Man coming up. And I like that Jesse Ventura's got this whole thing where he's done a lot of movies. He was in Predator. He was in a sci-fi crappy movie called Abraxas. He was in Batman and Robin for a little bit.
Oh, really? I didn't know that one.
He was one of the security guards. The scene where Poison Ivy and Bane break out Mr. Freeze from Arkham.
Okay.
He's one of the security guards that Poison Ivy kisses.
Okay.
Yeah. But like Jesse Ventura's talking about, oh yeah, this is my movie and I'm doing this and I like he's a heel. He's doing this thing where he's like, yeah, he's going to Hollywood. He's doing these massive movies with these big stars and yeah, Jesse Ventura is in Demolition Man for about 2 or 3 minutes. He gets broken out, unfrozen, and then I think he's one of them that Sandra Bullock actually kills.
Right.
But he's not like Simon Phoenix's second in command. He's in it in like the last like half hour or so.
Okay.
But I just like that he's like, yeah, I'm doing this movie and da-da-da-da-da, and I'm big in it, and I was like, you're in it for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, not so much.
No, but I like that. He's building himself up to be bigger than he is.
Agreed.
Granted, this man has lived a life. He was obviously a huge wrestler in his day. He was legitimately a Navy SEAL. Huge star in wrestling. He was at the time of doing this, he was the mayor in Minnesota, in a town of Minnesota.
Cool.
He was a movie star, did movies, television shows, everything. He became governor of Minnesota.
Yeah, he's lived a hell of a life.
Yeah, that's what I like, is like, yeah, he's building up bigger than he is, and I'm like, if you look at the stuff he's done in real life.
Right.
He's lived a life. So, but yeah, like I said, the match was like, you know what, there was something I know when you talk about the enhancement talent, because I hate using the word jobber.
Right.
When you look at the enhancement talent, you see, like, we're seeing a lot of the same people every week, because we're watching these shows, we see a lot of the same people. There's something about Joey Maggs I like.
He's just kind of unimpressive to me.
I liked him because, and you would see him, like, he would never go any higher than enhancement talent. But to me, watching him, and like, there was something missing. I think if he had whatever was missing, if he had that there, I think he would have been like, there was something, like, he had that sparkle missing, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, like, he had the talent and maybe not the personality.
I don't know, because there's something about him I really like, and I think if he could have had that one X factor that, you can't explain what that one thing is.
I gotcha.
But I really liked him, and I think if he had that one thing, he would have been bigger up on the roster than more than just a handsome. Now, am I saying that he could have been world champion?
No.
No, but I could have seen him at least in this position. Like, we don't know where he could have been, because unfortunately he passed away early in life. I want to say, but sometime in the 90s. But he was always like he was always solid, as in like he looked good. He had a good look. There was just something about him that, like, I think he could have moved up the card if he had that one thing. I think Joey Maggs could have been a guy. At least on the other side of the ring when it came to these kind of shows, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm, I gotcha.
Because he looked good against these guys. Granted, Pillman and Austin, especially around this time, can make anybody look good.
Yeah, this was a pretty okay match.
Yeah, but the thing with Joey Maggs, though, is that you can tell when... Okay, we're going to go back to where Bobby Eaton and Eric Watts were wrestling. You can see Bobby Eaton was good and making Eric Watts look good, but you could tell that Eric Watts still didn't look the best.
Right.
The Blondes made Joey Maggs look good, sure, but you can tell that Joey Maggs didn't need a lot of help.
Okay, I'm tracking.
You see the differences between... I'm not saying that Joey Maggs was better than Eric Watts, vice versa. I'm not trying to pull strings here.
Right.
But you can see when you're working with somebody how, yeah, you can make them look good, but you can also tell how much help they need to look good.
Right.
Joey Maggs didn't need a lot of help.
Yeah, I'm tracking now.
Yeah, that's why I liked him, because there's something there missing. He's missing that,
The X Factor.
The X Factor. And I don't know what it was or what it could have been, but I think if he would have had one or two more things, I think he could have been something, or at least higher up on the card.
Gotcha.
So, anyways, hashtag tangent. Shirts coming soon. Quick match. The bad guys win with a version of the move's called the rocket launcher, but they call it the atomic blonde, and I like that.
I like it too. The match took 2 minutes 53.
Yeah, and like I said, this was a good match. I'm enough kissing Joey Maggs' ass, but you can see now that I've explained it where I'm coming from with it.
Yeah, I can.
Okay. So we go into Tony and Jesse going ringside with the champs. Once again, great fun promo. You got Austin on the mic, you got Pillman on the mic. It's never a bad thing.
Yeah, they both cut a great promo.
Yeah, and out comes Ricky Steamboat as they make comments about him and Douglas not coming in. People don't forget, obviously we can see Steamboat can wrestle. Steamboat could spit on the mic too.
Yeah, I've seen some of his stuff early in the podcast.
Yeah, and you realize this man can tell you, he's like, look, talk shit all you want. I've been tag champions 8 separate times. You think I'm not ready for a 9th time?
Right.
And then they start to fight, and surprisingly, Steamboat holds his own against these guys longer than I thought, but obviously the numbers get up to him, and just as the bad guys start to take over, out comes Douglas, who just made the show, who's bringing his nearly empty suitcase. I get you want to put clothes in it to make it look like it's not just an empty suitcase.
Right.
Bro, it might as well have been empty, because it popped open, there was like a pair of shoes, some workout pants, and a t-shirt. Because get it? Travel issues?
Right.
That was just weird to me. Like, it didn't kill anything for it. It was just, I mean, if my tag partner's getting jumped and I'm just getting there, I'm gonna at least drop the suitcase.
You can run faster if you're not holding something. Get there quicker.
And that was a big suitcase for workout gear for the gym.
Yeah.
Once again, I liked it. Obviously, we're building up to a rematch. So we get into the ultimate match of the night for both shows. A rematch from last week, Cactus Jack versus Vader. And if this is anything like last week, and I like how the announcer called it not just a grudge match, it's a super grudge match.
Yeah, this is gonna be... I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, it was so good. And I like how Vader's are outside of the ring, posturing to the crowd. Harley Race gets in, and Jack just slams him down and elbows him, and Vader's like, oh shit, I gotta get in there.
I don't think the first bell ever rings, but we are on.
Yeah. And then, I'm surprised, I would say a good 80 to 85% of this match, Cactus Jack was in control.
Yeah, he was just going right at it.
Beat the brakes off Vader. And like, here's the thing. Vader really didn't get beat like that in America. Like, he got beat, but not like dominated like this. You would have to go to like Japan to see the matches like he had against Stan Hansen or like Kenta Kobashi, or just look up Vader in Japan in general.
Right.
And you can see what he could, like, when you want to see a fight and you want to see Vader get beat on a little bit. Like I said, there's a match, it's a famous match he had with Stan Hansen, where his eye literally popped out.
You've told me about that match, but I've never seen it.
He pushed it back in and finished the match. His eye just swelled shut.
Ugh, yikes.
And I love me some Stan Hansen. Ooh, you want to talk about guys that can brawl and fight, and who had the best lariat of all time? There is no comparison. No one comes close to a Stan Hansen lariat.
Gotcha.
He murdered people. So anyway, tangent aside. And I like, so they actually, surprised, you really didn't see this a lot back then. They kind of fought to the entranceway for a little bit, and Jack gets thrown through the little castles, and Vader pops his head in, and Jack just cracks him with the chair.
Yeah, that looked painful.
Yeah, and then he dropped him he was able to, the fact that Vader let Jack pick him up and drop him gut first over the ring barrier, and then Cactus Jack body slammed Race and gave him the Cactus Jack elbow.
Yee.
Cactus Jack is beating the dog shit out of Vader.
It's all CJ as we go to a commercial break.
Yeah, and we come back, Vader's in control a little bit, but like I said earlier, outside of Japan, I've never seen Vader like this before. So yeah, so we come back in from commercial, and like I said, outside, he's finally in control, but like outside of Japan, I've never seen Vader like this before.
Yeah, for me seeing this for the first time, this was brutal.
Yeah, and like he finally gets Jack down to where he lands not only one but 2 Vader bombs, and Jack didn't move after the first one, and then he got even more squash after the second one, and then Vader comes off the top, like he's not going for the Vader bomb, he goes off and lands up.
Flying nothing.
Because it looked like he was he just hopped off and he caught it. And then Jack makes a small comeback, clotheslines him over the top, and then Jack went for that flip senton that won him the match last week, and he landed right on his back and missed with a thud.
Ooh, yikes.
Yeah, and speaking of thuds, Harley Race pulls the match back to the concrete, and Vader lands his power bomb on the exposed concrete.
Yeah. I'm not sure if the final bell was Cactus Jack being counted out or referee stoppage, but that took 9 minutes and 15 seconds, and that was just brutal.
I flinched at the sound of the thud from the concrete. Even I was like, oh my God, oh Jesus. Oh, that looked like it hurt.
Yeah.
And then so they go to commercial, Jack's still laying there. And as they come back, they're doing the whole, commentators are talking somber, the wrestlers are coming out for support, they're doing the full stretcher job to where they do the full stretcher job all the way into the ambulance, and the ambulance pulling away as the show ends.
Yeah, that takes about the last 5 minutes of the broadcast.
Yeah. Overall, this was my favorite match of the night.
It's close for me.
Number two is the TV title match. Weird stipulation notwithstanding. The TV title match was a close second.
Yeah. Honestly, I think I might call Bagwell Scorpio versus Vincent and Lee. I think I might call that my favorite. But it's close.
Really?
Yeah, just good tag team wrestling. That was kind of what I wanted this week.
Hey, nobody's perfect. Anyways, so we are getting into, but overall, like, the match of the whole week was nothing from Raw.
No, Raw didn't have a chance this week.
This was 100% WCW the whole way. So we're getting, obviously, like I said, Cactus Jack Vader, 1A, 1B with the TV title match. We're going to get into the top 5 Billboard 100, the top 5 box office for the week of April 16th to 22nd of 93, at least for the movies. We always go 5 to 1, but we're starting with the Billboard. Bach, what do you got?
Unfortunately, this is going to be boring again because for the third week, we have exactly the same top 5 in the same positions.
You want to go through it real quick, then?
Number 5, we have Don't Walk Away by Jade. Number 4, we have I Have Nothing by Whitney Houston. Number 3, Nothing But a G-Thang by Dr. Dre. Number 2, Freak Me by Silk. And number 1, Informer by Snow.
So give us a little spoiler without giving any titles. Is there a change next week?
Give me just a sec to take a look. Yes, some things actually will change next week.
Oh, wow, we have something to look forward to. So, that's awesome.
Yay.
So like I said, we always put the new videos for the trailer, the music videos and trailers for the movies for new ones. That way we're not giving you the same videos every week after week after week after week. We're going to mix it up. We'll find some fun stuff to put up there as well from 93. We'll talk about this later. Okay, top 5 movies. We have 2 new movies this week.
What we got?
So, number 5 was from last week. Cop and a Half. It made $3.9 million this week for a total gross of $18.5 million.
Okay.
Number 4 is one of the new ones. It's the Johnny Depp movie, Benny and June.
Never heard of that one.
Came in at $4.2 million. We'll put the trailer up this week. Coming in at number 3 are another new entrant at $5.1 million, the Wesley Snipes action movie, Boiling Point. I have seen this, and it's been... I will read it. A pair of sociopath killers take on the police and the mob in order to make one last big score.
Interesting.
My kind of movie. You got Wesley Snipes, you got Dennis Hopper, early 90s action movie. Number 2, coming in at $5.8 million with a total gross of $13.9. Same movie that was at number 2 last week, The Sandlot. Absolutely, once again, I talked about this when we posted the trailer. Absolutely fucking love this movie. Still holds up. And coming in at number 1 with still an impressive after 2 weeks, $19.1 million. With a total gross after 2 weeks of $51.3 million. Indecent Proposal.
Really? That one?
Made $51 million in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So, and then I like to put in what movies drop the most and what movies gain the most, like, money-wise, percentage, because, they give us the percentages here.
Right.
And it looks like the loser, as in it dropped from week to week. The Crush, which was in our top 5 2 weeks ago, is now at number 11 from number 6 last week. It dropped 51.4%.
Yow.
Which, once again, it happens. You're always going to have stuff drop eventually. Now, the big one, with a positive, it made an extra 101% from the week before. The Chuck Norris Vehicle Sidekicks. It made $661,000.
Really? That much of an improvement?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen that movie.
But a lot of this comes from More like it also added 87 screens from the week before too.
Okay.
And it was only in 150 theaters.
Gotcha.
So it honestly made more. It still made $4,000 a theater. It averaged about $4,000. But basically, that's what that is that a lot of movies will pick it up. You'll get movies that were like limited release. Like a lot of movies you'll see, hey, we're going to release at this date in New York, LA, Chicago, and then in 2 weeks it's going to be wide release across the country. You're going to see a massive jump.
Gotcha.
So it's not surprising to see 101%. And I think it actually goes up. Let me check next week. Not even close, but we'll get a movie, and I'm just going to spoil it right now. It gains 1,000% extra money.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Spoiler, positive 1,300%.
Okay.
When I talk about, this is what I'm talking about with wide releases.
Right, makes sense now.
Yeah. Just like, we got Unforgiven is number 9, and it's been in the box office for 37 weeks.
Long time.
Yeah, and then like we said, once you get into stuff like Jurassic Park, which comes out, oh god, like not too long after this, 8 weeks, about 2 months, in about June.
Okay.
It's gonna be there for quite a while. So.
Alrighty.
Yeah, and A Decent Proposal is actually, oh god, how many weeks is it number 1? We got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 weeks at number 1.
For a movie like that? In the 90s?
5, 6. Still in the top 5. It spent 6 weeks in the top 5.
Wow.
No, I'm sorry, excuse me, 7. 7 weeks in the top 5.
I wouldn't think a movie with that premise in the 90s would be that big.
Oh, it's still, like, you still need those grown-up movies. Like, you still had movies like that before.
Well, I was only about 8 years old, so...
Yeah, and it's not the kind of movie you normally seek out anyways.
Right.
But, I mean, Robert Redford, Demi Moore, Woody Harrelson, it's got a cast.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like I said, this is going to gross $100 million. It's not going to be the highest-grossing movie of the year at all, because Jurassic Park.
Right.
It still made over $100 million.
I gotcha.
Because, like I said, it's... You gotta have your adult movies. Like, I get there's a lot of... We've seen a lot of kids' movies at least these couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But you also gotta consider, you gotta, a good drama. I guess I'm gonna call this an erotic drama, given the premise. You got grown-ups that want to go see it. This is gonna be a date movie. This is a movie I could see people, like I said, people thought Robert Redford was a good-looking dude, so you're gonna see women to go see this. You want to go see something where it's like, Demi Moore is a very beautiful woman.
Agreed, she is.
There's pretty people in this movie, and also, given the premise, you can have, like, oh, I'm gonna go watch this. You know what? Hey, Mary, we're gonna go we're gonna have somebody babysit the kids. We're gonna go watch this.
Okay, yeah, now I'm tracking where the appeal comes from.
Yeah, like, you gotta look at it not necessarily what it would appeal to you, because I know it's not a movie that appeals to you.
Right.
You also gotta look at what appeals to the general audience. Because the fact in 2 weeks this made $51 million, it appealed to a lot of people.
Yes.
Or the fact that The Crying Game in 21 weeks made... I'm just looking at this right now. In 21 weeks, The Crying Game, which is at number 7, made $57 million. So it almost eclipsed The Crying Game in 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
It's...
I do. Now I do.
It also gained 153 screens. Or 153 theaters. 153 screens, depending.
Gotcha.
So it added over 150 theaters also.
Right.
And it still had a 40% drop too, because you're going to make the majority of your money usually within the first couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Even with Marvel movies, I think we're slowly coming into the superhero fatigue part right now. I think the bubble's getting ready to burst.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of part of that. And I'm a huge Marvel fan. Like, at least the first phase 3 up to phase 3, I absolutely adored. I think the bubble's coming close, and I think what's coming up next, and I'm gonna put my finger on this now. I think the trend now, with the good reception the first 2 Sonic movies had, the Last of Us TV show, and the fact that the Mario Brothers movie, which I need to see yet, has eclipsed $1 billion. I think video games are going to be the next big thing. Finally, we're finally going to start getting good, decent video game movies.
Hope you're right.
I think video games are going to be the next superhero movie. And I'm going to put that on the internet right now for everybody to see.
All right, we'll see how that turns out.
We've lived through some shitty video game movies.
Yeah, the 90s were awful for video game movies.
Like Mario Brothers. That movie is garbage.
For me, it's so bad it's good.
Street Fighter kind of falls under that for me. But overall, Street Fighter's not a good movie.
No, not at all.
Mortal Kombat, the original Mortal Kombat is a fun, great movie. Not the best.
Not the best, no.
Mortal Kombat Annihilation's a piece of shit.
Yeah, total crap.
Tomb Raider was alright. Tomb Raider Cradle, was that Cradle of Life?
Yeah. I remember back in 1997, I walked from my middle school to the movie theater to see Wing Commander on opening day. That was just complete garbage. Completely failed to capture the spirit of the games.
Yeah, and here's another one, and this is where I think the movie's good, but the title ruined it. Final Fantasy Spirits Within.
Oh, I'll agree with that 100%. If that hadn't had the Final Fantasy name, it would have been great.
If you call, like, I've seen the movie. I think it's a great movie. If you just call it The Spirits Within, I think people would have thought it was a better movie.
I make the same comparison between the Mass Effect trilogy and Mass Effect Andromeda. Andromeda was fine for what it was, but it wasn't like the trilogy, and that's what people wanted.
And, like, I never played Final Fantasy VII, so I watched the beginning of Advent Children. So I can't, like, it looked great, but I couldn't tell you, like, I got lost. I didn't know who half these people were.
Right.
So I didn't finish it. It looked great, but I don't know how faithful it was to 7 to where, okay, this is a good video game movie.
Right.
My first Final Fantasy was 9.
You've talked about that before.
Yeah, 9 and 10 are my first two, and I love 10. I actually like 9 a lot too.
Yeah, I got Final Fantasy X as a birthday present right about the time I was getting into the .hack series, and that benefit of hindsight now, I was autistic hyper-focusing on .hack, so I didn't care about Final Fantasy X.
I played the first one, and the sad thing is I don't have the copy anymore, and you know how much those are going for.
Yeah.
I used to have a copy of the first one.
Yeah, that whole series is expensive now.
Oh, yeah. But I think that's where the trend's going. At least I hope. Because they've already announced that they're going to do... they're going to do sequels to Mario Brothers. It just made $1 billion.
Definitely successful enough to warrant the sequel.
And not only are we going to get sequels, now that it made $1 billion, I think this is going to be... like, we've had video game movies before, like I said, with comic books. You had the X-Men movies, you had Blade, you had Steel with Shaq. That's another shitty comic book movie.
Mm-hmm.
You had, you've had them since, the Batman serials in the 30s and 40s.
Right.
You had Superman in 78, which is still one of the best superhero movies ever. And I don't like Superman. You had Batman 89. I think that all the other video game movies are like that. And I think Mario Brothers is really going to be the Iron Man of the video game movies, if that makes sense to you.
It's kicking off the trend.
Yeah, where, like, do we really, honestly, I don't know if we need a Smash Brothers movie. I don't think that would make sense to me. You would have to make something you would have to make that a limited series for that to work. You couldn't make that a 2 or 3 hour movie.
Agreed.
Because as soon as that made money, people are saying, we want Smash. No, you don't want Smash Brothers. But I think we're going to get, we're going to get the Mario Brothers sequels. We're going to get, Miyamoto is like, hey, Nintendo saw the money, it's like, all right, we need to do Metroid. I would be down for a cool Metroid movie.
I would too.
And here's the thing, you can make these movies animated. You don't have to do live action.
Right.
I would like to see, I know they did the anime, but I would like to see a Castlevania movie. Maybe if you want to go fun and, do another family-friendly one, here's a wild card. Earthbound is a movie.
Ooh, that would be really good.
I think an Earthbound movie would work. If you keep it as whimsical as the game was.
Yeah.
I think Earthbound could work. But I'm going to put my money on this right now. Both $2 I have in my wallet right now. I think the superhero... I think after Phase 5 is done with and they do, like, the Marvel movies, I think you're not going to see him as much.
All right.
And I think that the bubble, if it hasn't burst yet, it's about ready to.
Okay.
I think I'm going to put my money on it right now. I think video game movies are going to be the next thing.
I hope you're right.
Because, like I said, the last handful of years, we've gotten decent... Like, I've yet to see him, but I've heard nothing but good things about the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. I've heard great things about, for the most part, obviously, even if you don't like it, it made $1 billion. Super Mario did very well.
Yes.
I never saw the Last of Us series. I never played the video game, so I had no reason to watch The Last of Us. Well received.
I didn't play them either.
But from what I heard, it was well received as a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that, we're going to, use your Amazons and use your HBOs. You don't have to have... And I think this is where Marvel made the mistake. And I'm going to say why this Phase 4 didn't work for me. I've actually not seen like the last 2 or 3 Marvel movies at all. And you know that I love the Marvel movies.
Yes.
I've not seen Guardians of the Galaxy. I've not seen Ant-Man. I've not seen Black Panther at all.
Okay.
And you know that I would go see these opening weekend.
Yes.
Here's where I think they failed. Is up until all the way through phase 3. I was at Endgame Thursday night that movie opened. Even in our small town, that theater was packed for Endgame. I had to sit at, the row where they put the handicap seats at?
Yeah.
I had to sit that close. So my neck's cranked for 3 hours.
Ow.
No, obviously it was Endgame. I'm not complaining.
Right.
Endgame was amazing. It's one of my favorites. There was only one good movie in Phase 4 that I thought was better than meh.
Which one was it for you?
Shang-Chi.
Okay.
Was the only other movie that I thought... None of them are bad. But every other movie I saw before and after that was meh. Like, yeah, this is alright. It just doesn't have the same thing. And I think Disney Plus is a problem.
Yeah, I think I see where you're going with this. Like, the oversaturation of the tie-in media, right?
Exactly. Like, I wouldn't mind standalone stuff. Like, the fact that Hawkeye was a standalone thing. You really didn't have to know too much about the other movies, or they gave you at least enough during the shows, like, okay, this is where this is at, this is what happened.
Okay.
You really didn't. Yeah, of course you wanted to watch, Avengers. They had nods to Avengers and Endgame and all the other stuff for Hawkeye, but basically, for the most part, Hawkeye was self-contained.
Right.
That's actually the last Disney Plus show I've watched was Hawkeye, which I was going to watch anyways because Hawkeye's been my favorite Avenger since I was a kid.
Okay.
But the problem is, and even Doctor Strange was mad at me, and you even had Sam Raimi, who I love, directing this. The fact is, and I didn't see the problem with Endgame because you didn't have to worry about another streaming service to catch up on the movies, for the most part. You had to have this. With a lot of the movies from Phase 4 on, you had to have... Okay, for you to understand what's going on in Doctor Strange, you had to watch this movie, this movie, this movie, this movie, this show, this show, this show, this show. So you understood who all the characters were.
Right.
And this is just like... It just... I think the fact that... This is what I think... And of course, fuck do I know. This is what I think Marvel should have done. And this is just coming from somebody who doesn't know how entertainment works.
Okay.
Stop the movies after Endgame for a while to kind of let everybody catch their breath before you start doing... Because they didn't stop after Phase 3. They didn't give any time before the next movies came out.
Right.
There was not a lot of time. Because Spider-Man came out like a couple months after that. Or like right before that or right after that.
Mm-hmm.
It was like right before or right after.
I think it was after.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, so it's like, okay, we can breathe, this was a massive undertaking. This was the end. Endgame was the end.
Right.
I think they should have stopped making movies for a while. Let it simmer a little bit. Use Disney Plus to bring the one-shots in. You can test to be like, oh, okay, like Hawkeye was a one-shot. I thought WandaVision was crazy good because it was different. It was different. I liked Falcon and the Winter Soldier because it was different. You're given a chance to... Hey, I know that everybody wants Captain America and Thor and Iron Man, but let's Disney Plus to get, let those guys a rest. Obviously, spoiler, Iron Man dies at the end of Endgame. Captain America's all but dead.
Yeah, I knew those two.
Yeah. Thor, Love and Thunder, eh.
It was okay.
It was alright. But, because they tried too hard to do the comedy, I thought that Ragnarok had a good mix. They leaned too hard on the funny parts on Love and Thunder, and I think that's what hurt it. Because I thought Gore as a villain was great. I mean, it helps that I'm a huge Christian Bale fan.
Right.
I think Gore worked great, but I think he was in the wrong movie.
Okay.
That movie was too funny for something like Gore, in my opinion.
I think I'm going to agree with you. Like, his arc was compelling, but wrong movie.
Yeah, like, you saw what he did, You're like, okay, like, you're not completely just a bad guy. Like, I see why you did what you did. Like Killmonger. I'm not saying he's as good as Killmonger. Killmonger was a great villain, but you could see why he was evil.
Yes.
You understood why Gore was evil.
Yes.
And then you had Wacky Thor. Da-da-da-da. Like, it didn't work.
Right.
But, like, I thought the first season of Loki was good. And I think this is where the problem started, is you needed to watch this show, and this show, and this show, and this movie, and this movie, and this movie. And another thing that I don't like, and I know I'm on a big fucking soapbox right now. I love the Daredevil Netflix shows, which I do think Disney made a good move by putting all the violent, MA-rated adult Netflix shows on Disney+.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a good, smart move. You have your Daredevil, Luke Cage, Punisher, all that on there.
Right.
The fact that the Daredevil TV show on Disney Plus is going to be 18 episodes.
Too much?
Yes! Most of these have been 6, 7, 8 episodes. The Netflix shows were 13, and some of those had very not best filler episodes where nothing happened.
Okay.
Now you're giving up. They're wrong. Charlie Cox is coming back. Vincent D'Onofrio's coming back. We're getting John Bernthal as the Punisher again. Like, cool, great. Also, make it M-rated because this is, if we try to make him wacky, you see what I'm saying? I don't think it's good. Like the fact that they said they are going to have Deadpool 3 be R-rated. Thank God. And I'm excited for that because I thought the first 2 Daredevil movies were awesome.
Haven't seen them yet, heard good things.
They're funny as all hell.
That's an endorsement for me.
The fact that the Daredevil show, which I'm excited for, once again, Daredevil's in my top 5 favorite Marvel characters. I'm a you know this, I'm a massive Daredevil fan, always have been.
Yes.
The Punisher is my all-time favorite comic book character. You know this.
Yeah, we've talked about it before.
I've met the creator, who, by the way, very nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Conway's an extremely nice and personal guy. I met him before.
Yeah, I remember that was fantastic on in Toledo a few years ago, right?
Yeah, you took the picture. But I'm just the fact that I got to meet the guy that created my all-time favorite character. Couldn't be a nicer guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he's also the one who killed Gwen Stacy in the comics too. But that was a fun story to hear.
Right.
The fact that you have all these other shows that were 13 at the most, 6, 7, 8 episodes. Next you're giving me a TV show that has 18 episodes.
That's a lot.
The fact that you're giving, like, Law and Order SVU does 20 some odd, so you're almost like in Law and Order season length.
Right.
With one bad guy. Like, Vince, I'm sure there's going to be other stuff, but you're telling me you're going to have one storyline last 18 hours.
Yeah, I see where you're coming at now.
Exactly. You can keep it at the 6, 7, 8, especially if you're always going to have your one main bad guy. So I think what they should have done is keep doing the shows to build up slowly, instead of just throwing the new characters out right away. Here's the new movies right away. These are your new favorite people. Use the TV shows to slowly introduce them, and then use these to build up. So when you give people the couple years, because Disney Plus is relatively new when Endgame came out.
Right.
Like when Disney Plus first came out, Black Panther was the newest movie on there.
Gotcha.
And that was before Infinity War. So you already had everything had been established, right?
Right.
So if you want to introduce the new characters, bring them on all the specials and the TV shows and stuff, slowly build them up. And then you build this towards having the new movie. Someone that's like, oh shit, this is huge. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, instead of just rolling the new movies out like nothing major happened.
Exactly.
So yeah, like Endgame was the culmination of what? Almost 24 movies?
It was 22 or 23.
Okay.
And here's the thing. Endgame is one of my top... I like Endgame better than Infinity War, but the problem is with Endgame, for you to really get how Endgame worked, you did need to watch the 20-some-odd movies beforehand, or it didn't have the same impact.
Right.
You can still watch it, but most of the people that watch Endgame had already watched the other movies.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
It's like the whole Professor Frink thing from The Simpsons. You won't enjoy it on as many levels as I do. Exactly.
And I'm not trying to gatekeep. Obviously, if you liked Endgame and you didn't see the other movies before, great. If the only Iron Man you know is Iron Man 3, which, by the way, people are just now coming around to it. I thought Iron Man 3 was the best Iron Man solo movie anyways.
I really liked it too.
People are just now coming around to it. I'm like, yeah, Iron Man 3 has always been the best Iron Man solo movie. That's the whole Halloween 3 discussion, which is a whole nother thing. I always liked Halloween 3, but that's a whole nother... I'm not going to get into it, but if you understand what I'm talking about, this Iron Man 3 is the same concept.
Uh-huh.
Because people were saying that Iron Man 3 was the worst MCU movie. Yeah, not even close.
No, definitely not.
No, I have a couple that are bad. None of them are bad. None of them are so bad I won't watch them again. But there was a couple that I was like, it's alright.
I gotcha.
But that's the thing, is that you didn't give us time to breathe before you introduced so many other characters.
Right.
Give us a few years between movies. If people don't even realize, Endgame didn't even have an end credit scene.
It didn't?
No!
I didn't know that.
This was basically showing this is the end. There's nothing after this. Every movie from Iron Man on had at least one post-credit scene.
Right.
Endgame had none, and I think that worked best because you're showing, we're done, this is the end, there's nothing after that, oh, here's a new movie 4 months later.
Gotcha.
And you didn't give us time to rest and relax and recuperate before you're throwing us a whole nother thing. That's like watching That's like finishing all 20 seasons of Law and Order, and then right after that, you're watching Law and Order SVU. Here, whole new character. Okay, you just like because the original Law and Order was on for like 20 years.
Right.
You know, they've brought it back since then, but I'm talking about the original.
Uh-huh.
That's like watching all those episodes. You got invested. Okay, everybody's gone. Here's a whole new season. Now you have to watch invest all these new people right away.
Right.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Give me time to simmer. Use the TV shows to, slowly bring in the new characters. And give us a couple years before you start doing movies again.
Yeah, I agree that a break would have been good.
Yeah, because people are considering Ant-Man to be a bomb. Because it didn't make the kind of money it did. And the fact that they screwed up MODOK, too. But I'm not trying to get on my soapbox about why the movies aren't that good.
Right.
Like I said, other than Shang-Chi, the rest of them were meh. And I saw Black Widow, I saw The Eternals, I saw Doctor Strange. I'm just like, I got so many meh movies, I needed a break.
I gotcha.
Like, I'm excited to see, I saw the James Gunn Suicide Squad movie. Fantastic. I liked Peacemaker so well. Peacemaker was a great show.
I've heard good things.
But it's just like, so that's why I'm excited when James Gunn is now in charge of DC Studios. He's one of the top honchos.
Right.
And I like, they're taking the time to let it simmer. Here's the characters we're involving. But they're giving us time to breathe. They're not throwing them out right away, especially with the fiasco of The Flash coming out finally.
Uh-huh.
That's a whole nother thing. By the way, not going to go see that. I think I need a break from superhero movies.
Okay.
And you know me. I'm a massive superhero fan.
Yeah.
I need a break.
Would you say superheroes are your favorite genre?
No, because I lump those into action movies.
Okay.
I lump superhero movies as like a subgenre.
All right, I gotcha.
Like I'm like action movies. I go into like I like action movies. I like horror movies. I like a good comedy. Well, I can get into most any movie. Like I can get into the period pieces, the historical epics, fucking Shakespeare. Like I can't get into like the super uber sappy chick flicks, the rom-coms.
I gotcha.
There's some I like, but the majority of them are just like, oh, it's like a Hallmark movie. They're the same fucking movies.
Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying.
I can predict what happens in most of those kind of movies. But I'll watch anything. Like I said, I'll watch a good documentary. I'll watch nature flicks. Everybody has their favorite genres, but I'm open to almost anything.
Right.
So I just think that if I watch a Marvel movie, I might for a while just stick with the first 3 phases.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because even then it was like, it's like, yeah, we're going to do 3-4 movies a year, but here's movie 1. And the biggest one of the year was always in May, because that's just how you do movies anyways. You put your blockbusters right at the beginning. And then you gave us a few months to breathe before you played the next one. Then you gave us a few more minutes to breathe before the next one.
Okay.
You gave us time to recover. Once Endgame ended, you had TV show, movie, TV show, movie, TV show, movie, TV show, TV show, movie. That's a lot.
Yeah, just...
So I'm like, okay, this show's over. Okay, in a week or 2 weeks, here's the next show. Okay, while that's going on, here's the next movie. And then while that's happening, here's the next TV show. We're going to be about a month and a half before the next movie. Then here comes the next TV show. And by the way, you need to watch all these to get what happens in the movies.
Right.
Like, let me give you an example. For Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and I know we're going long, but I haven't had a chance to get on my soapbox about this yet, so we're going a little long, folks. Let me give you, and I'm not much longer, but I haven't had a chance to really rant like this in a long time. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, okay?
Okay.
To get all the characters, the new characters, the old characters, the motivations, everything, okay, you needed to watch Doctor Strange, Infinity War. Actually, you needed to watch Age of Ultron, because you needed Scarlet Witch. Do you understand where Scarlet Witch started?
Yeah.
You needed Age of Ultron. You needed, I'm trying to think, the next one she was, okay, you also needed Doctor Strange. Then you needed Infinity War, Endgame. You also needed WandaVision. You needed Loki, the TV show, because that's where they introduced the whole multiverse cracking. That's the big thing now in the Marvel movies.
Okay.
So you had to watch Loki to get that happening. And then you also had to watch one of the episodes of What If that had one of the evil Doctor Stranges in it. Then you had to watch Multiverse of Madness.
That's a lot to ask for one movie.
For one movie. Oh, by the way, no, you also needed to watch Spider-Man No Way Home, the most recent one, because Doctor Strange had a big part in that, and the multiverse was also cracking in that, too. So you also had to watch Spider-Man to get the full multiverse thing going with it, too.
My gosh, that's a lot of interdependence.
For one movie.
Yeah.
To make sure you understood all the motivations and the whole Because if you're going to a movie called The Multiverse and you don't know what the multiverse is going on, you need to watch all the multiverse-related stuff. Now you can see why people are starting to get tired of superhero movies.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a lot for one movie.
Yeah, it's asking too much.
Yeah, and I think that's what they did is they used. I think Disney Plus was a big problem with Marvel.
They used it too much.
I think the TV shows should have been independent of the movies for the most part. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Like, let the TV shows tell their own story. Let the movies tell their own story, and not have so much crossover.
And eventually, sure, if you want to do a big, huge movie, Avengers style movie, and we're gonna add this guy, cool. You can watch these in preparation. Like, hey, this movie's coming out next year. We're gonna give you a whole year to catch up.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. You didn't get a lot of catch up when Multiverse of Madness came out.
Yeah.
So to be able to understand everything and everybody's motivation, you gotta watch all that. By the way, I stopped watching What If after episode 2.
Okay.
Because it was what if T'Challa becomes Star-Lord instead of Black Panther.
What?
Yeah. Like, and I know how What If works. It was cool. Like, this is where we got the whole Captain Carter thing, where Peggy Carter took the superhero serum instead.
That actually sounds pretty cool.
It was that was the first one. I actually kind of enjoyed that one, where Steve got an armor suit and it was a cool thing. And it was animated, so it was cool. Mm-hmm. So the fact that the What If took me out of it is that one thing changed so much. Like, and I actually have one of the What If comic books at home. It's What If the Mafia never killed the Punisher's family. Spoiler alert, it was dirty cops instead of the Mafia, so he was always destined to become the Punisher. Which I kind of like that wrinkle, too. It was like, sometimes you can't change destiny.
Right, like, I think Doctor Who calls that a fixed point in time.
Yeah, and I think that was a cool wrinkle. Or like they had, like, I remember one issue was like, what if the Fantastic Four all had the same power? Like, what if all of them were invisible, or all of them were the Human Torch?
I see.
So, like, it's some different, but the fact that they didn't change a whole lot, but the fact they made T'Challa be, like, this super-duper hero, right?
Right.
Where the Ravagers, instead of taking Peter Quill, they take T'Challa. Even though, by the way, they have a picture of Star-Lord, you see the problem.
Yes, I do.
Even Yondu's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Do they look the same?
No.
Which that was kind of funny, though. Where it's like, Yondu was like, hey, shitheads, do these guys look alike to you?
Not so much.
But yeah, no, but I thought that part was kind of humorous.
Okay.
The whole picture versus the kid.
Mm-hmm.
But T'Challa becomes Star-Lord, who now leads the Ravagers. Thanos is one of the Ravagers.
Why?
And he's not evil Thanos. He's just, I'm part of the gang, guys. Thanos. He's not evil. He's not a turncoat. He's just Thanos as a Ravager. Nebula is a triple agent?
None of this makes sense.
Oh, I'm not done yet. And so they go, a lot of it takes place in nowhere, right?
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about, nowhere, right?
I don't.
That was the planet in Guardians of the Galaxy. That's where the Collector was at.
Okay.
So they're on nowhere. And at one point, the Collector is the main bad guy who has Captain America's shield. He has Mjolnir. He has all these famous... He basically has taken over all the Marvel whatevers. So he's the main bad guy.
Okay.
They defeat him. And then they go back to Wakanda for a little bit. And then at the end, Peter Quill's still working at Dairy Queen. And then Ego pays him to visit. Basically, I don't know if he's supposed to take over Peter Quill. Does he kill him? We don't know what happens.
Okay.
All because they took T'Challa instead of Peter Quill.
Almost none of that follows from the premise.
And I get what if. We're trying what if. We're trying multiverses. But it deviated so much, I'm just like... So you're saying that if they took this child instead of that child, it radically changes it that much?
Right. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, like, I get you're supposed to suspend your disbelief. This is fantasy. I can only suspend my disbelief so much.
Right.
So you're saying the fact that for T'Challa to become Black Panther is the only reason the movies happened the way they did? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Like,
a guy we don't see until fucking Civil War. Oh, wait, yeah. I forgot. You need to watch Civil War for Doctor Strange 2 because the whole relationship for Wanda and Vision, you kind of get that inkling in Civil War before it happens in WandaVision. So, yeah, matter of fact, throw Civil War on that, too. I forgot she was in Civil War. But, like, there was a cool one where they did do the Marvel Zombies as an episode. Like, okay, that's a cool multiverse. And you actually are getting that as an animated series eventually, too. They actually are doing a Marvel Zombies, like, limited series. Okay, you do have my interest piqued on that one. Because that was an interesting storyline. It was an interesting series. Like, where the Blob actually bit freaking the Wasp in half. Like, bit her head off. It was cool. It was not freaking... Obviously, they literally became zombies and ate each other.
Right.
Like, I think they actually killed Galactus.
Oh, my.
Because they were able to kill Galactus and consume him. Like, this was crazy. But you can see where it's like, I have to believe this, and this for this to work. Also, I need to watch this, and this, and this, and then this episode for me to understand everybody that's going on in this movie.
Right.
Because it was like, why is Wanda all of a sudden the main bad guy? Oh, because you didn't watch this and this, and then you also needed to watch this to understand the multiverse, and then you needed to watch these so you can understand where Doctor Strange is coming from.
It was too much.
Yeah, way too much. Okay, you know what? We're going off on a tangent. This is the biggest tangent I've had. I can go on for this for hours. And this was all started for me saying that I think video games are going to be the next big movie thing.
This has been tangent of tangents.
This is an double extra large tangent t-shirt, hopefully soon.
Hopefully soon.
Okay, thank you everybody for coming out because I'm stopping myself here. Next week we're going into Monday Night Raw for April 26, 1993. And then May 1st, 1993 for WCW Saturday Night, as we're closing in on the road to Slamboree, which I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4...
Yeah, it should be 4 more episodes, and then we do Slamboree.
Yeah, so we got Slamboree coming in about a month or so. So you can find the podcast at capital D and capital A Podcast 1 on Twitter. If you want to listen to us, you can find us on YouTube and Rumble. Podcast-wise, we are on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, Good Pods, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. Bach?
I can be found at Big Boct, BIGBOCT, on most platforms. I use Twitter and Twitch the most.
And then I am on, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and Letterboxd mainly is my main sources of interaction. All at Xander Invictus.
All right, folks, that's been the Dropkicks and Attractions podcast. See you next mission.
See you guys next week.